Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Judith Briles, and we're back for another episode of the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And I always like to start a show on this because this is, um, my little book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty. I hope you all get this because I think you'll love some of the inspiration, the ahas, the insights, the motivators, the goosers that I have throughout it. And you can certainly your favorite bookstore can order it if they don't have copies, or or you can just go to the big one in the sky and do that. So let's talk about we're going to talk about superfans today, but I'm going to use a quote because it ties superfans are tied with your marketing, finding, cultivating them, nourishing them, keeping them there, and we'll explain what how to find them during this hour. But here's my quote for the day. Authors, in selling your book, when everything else is equal, your pitch makes the difference. So you want to make it snappy, sassy, and salty. So with that said, that I always want to start and thank our sponsors, which I'm one of the sponsors. Certainly, the Book Shepherds and TogiNet, our radio network, is involved in supporting all of their authors. The AuthorU.org is a membership organization designed for authors who want to be seriously successful. And I hope that's you. So what's very cool about Author U is your membership, which is 127 a year, gives you a free pass to a lot of stuff, including their monthly programs. Last month we did one on strategic digital marketing. It was a 2-hour fabulous workshop, great handouts, and it's a freebie instead of paying a lot more money if you were doing it individually. Non-members who want to attend do have to hike it up. And then there is the NZ Graphics, which is Nick Zellinger, who is a wonderful cover designer, creative, and interior designer. And then there's Rebecca Finkel with FPGD.com, and she is not only a multi-award winning book designer, cover designer, but she just creates awesome author websites that carry their brand and incorporates the book with it. So I think that's very cool. All right, so we are going to talk about the secret sauce out here, that you want this secret sauce. And authors who are very successful, and think of big names, whoever in your genre is a big name, they have a lot of the secret sauce. And the secret sauce is called a superfan. And what you want to do is really start early in the game to build your influence and your branding that would maybe attract them because there is a collaboration that can happen. And that can also be a way that they can become, believe it or not, your marketing team, your shout out group that goes forward. So if you've ever envisioned your author and book platform, you want to put your time and your energy, and yes, some money's into this side area. Now, and this is where people, I live in Denver, Colorado. It's a sports town. We've got hockey and we've got baseball and we've got, football and we've got um, basketball. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff here. And we're just building a huge new women's soccer stadium here. It's just been stamp of approval that's come in. So we support sports. Now, a few years ago, our football team, the Broncos, was in the Super Bowl. I mean, everywhere you looked, the fans were out, from wearing the orange jerseys to wearing, when it's baseball season, it's purple. And anything, huge money goes out to support fans, to bring them in, to become the walking product for you. on that. And I remember one time when I had a book out called The Confidence Factor, and I did a lot of work in the healthcare industry. And I created purple's a big color in healthcare, especially, it's female dominated. They love purple. I love purple. And that I had a T-shirt, and I had all kinds of things to support the book. And I spoke in all 50 states on this book. I spoke in 20 countries on this book and my other books. And that I created a T-shirt. And I mean, I was a traveling store when I was at events, and it said, "Beware, I am a woman of confidence." And it had, my name on it and the confidence factor. And I would have whole departments buy these shirts, the women who worked in them, and I had multiple sizes, and they were fans. They became fans. They want to know, what else do you have, when I came back or they saw me at another conference that they were attending. So, secret sauce, super fans. In Colorado, sports is huge. We have super fans everywhere. And there are author and book super fans. One of the authors who I liked and I read, I actually buy anything he puts out. That's what a super fan does. That's what you want. They, people get so worried about who the publisher is. People don't care about who the publisher is. They care about the author or the topic. That's it. That's why it's so important to have that title pull to bring them in. It's so important on the back of your books to have your back cover copy snap, crackle, and pop, and pulls them in. And remember, you are pain reducers. That's what you do. A super fan. Now, for super fans who are fiction readers, you're going to give them great dropout time so they can read. That's what they're looking for. For the nonfiction authors, we're solving problems, and we're giving solutions, strategies, techniques, activities they can do to deal with whatever your topic is. So you want to have these super fans. So I'm a super fan, for example, of Michael Connelly, who is a, little suspense, sometimes a little thriller. There's always a little mystery in it. And he's coming out with a new book this summer. And it's going to be based on an island I know a lot about. And I spent a lot of time as a teen and a young woman on during the summer, and was called Catalina. So he's created a new character, new series. There's a lot of information I can see floating around, catches my eye. And of course, what the super fans do, they pre-order the book, right? So super fans are very, very important. They don't care about the cost of the book. What they care about is you. They care about the genre. Now, we have super fans who are author oriented. Anything you do, like Michael Connelly, I'm one of his fans. Anything he does, I buy. I'm a fan of Kristen Hannon. I buy her stuff. Do I love it all? Nope, I don't. I don't. But I do love the last book she did called The Women. Loved it. But so we support, we shout it out, we talk about it. That's what you want. So how do you find them? How do you nurture them? How do you take it? And that's what we're going to talk about today, is to get in that so you can start getting into that mindset. Now, one of the things I do to start the gathering so I can nurture them is whenever I'm in a book event, whether it's conference connected, whether it's in a bookstore, I always have a sign-up sheet and I tell people, would you like to join, my reader circle? I give away free stuff, and I do. I do. And just little things going out. I sometimes I do special contests for them, but you start setting the stage to let it go. And since I have a new book coming out during this summer, that by the time you read it, it's a historical fiction. It's book 3 in the series. The first time you hear this podcast, it's available. So we will be during the month of July, we will be doing all the launching on it around to continue to support it. And one of the great things about having my own independent press is that I can do what we call a rolling launch. You can just keep it going. It's not just a 2 week thing and it's over. No, you can keep it going. Your super fans will help you do that. So who is this person that I'm talking about? And by the way, the book we're launching is called The Secret Rise. I guess I should tell you that. It's called The Secret Rise. I don't even have, when I taped this show, I didn't even have a copy of the book yet because it was at the printers. Right. So, but who are they? Well, here's 8 things you need to know about them. One, they buy anything you write, and that includes audiobooks and ebooks. They're looking for a variety of things. And in fact, once you become a multiple author, maybe you have a series, like I have one more book to do in my series, we'll actually put that in a special box set that people can buy, and a special price for that. Right. So number two, they'll shout out your name and your titles to anyone and everyone that they come across that's looking for a new read or maybe a new author or a different topic. But your name becomes at the forefront. Number three, they will gladly share their email and contact information because they're hoping you contact them. And by the way, you should. You should follow up. If someone buys your book, you should send them a follow-up email. Thank you. And the other thing you're going to do is you're going to encourage them to support a book review and get it up there. And they usually will do that very quickly. Number four, they will just like I did for Michael Connelly's next book, they will enthusiastically pre-order anything you announce is coming. Anything you announce is coming. So number five, they think of them as they'd love to think of that you will reach out to them as part of their marketing team for any effort you're doing, and whether it's online. For example, when I'm in a bookstore, I will create special posters. It's got my picture on it. It may have several of my books that I'll have in the bookstore, but I will say, meet me at Barnes and Noble at Southlands Mall this Saturday, for example. And we would put that out. And we would send that a specific email to all the people and then I have, many, many hundreds in a special email list that I've been collecting over the last year and a half whenever I'm in a bookstore to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is where I'm going to be. Here's my latest new book. Come and get it. That kind of thing on that. So they become your marketing effort, and you could reach out them to either online, in person. That if someone starts grumbling, this is really important. It's been very interesting to see that if someone starts grumbling about you, that they will come to your rescue. They will defend you in social media if someone's taking pot shots at your work, your books, or whatever. I remember I had a book, and I mentioned it in an earlier podcast the previous month, and it was called Author You, Creating and Building Your Author in Book Platforms, right? So it's a workbook, it's an activity book. I had cartoons in it, and lines. And this one person, only one person gave it 1 star on Amazon and began to criticize it, saying that, what is this? There's lines in this book. There's cartoons. I mean, this must be for children. Well, obviously, he didn't read the back cover copy. Obviously, he didn't read the details. It said, this is a workbook. When I have a workbook, we put lines in, you can do activities. There's 21 activities in that book. We have fun things, characters to lighten it up because you're working. But fans of mine came back and counterpunched. And I've been reached out from other people who have done very well, very successful authors that get dinged And they will ask me, would you look at this and maybe you can make a comment or counter back? Now, if it's a ding, mine was a ding on Amazon. So that's back in the days where you could come in and actually write up your clueless. I even contacted the individual personally and said, if you're really unhappy, I am glad to refund your money. Send me your name and address and I'll do it. Never responded. Never responded. But on your social media, which, as you know, can get not fun at times, that your super fans will come in and be your defender. So count on it. Number seven, two more. Number seven is they provide social proof that you're the real deal. And even tell other people, you need to follow this. I mean, when I find something I really like, I shout it out. Do you? I would encourage you to. Is there a book that you really love, author you really like? Why not give them a little boost on that? And then the last thing, you often don't have to ask, but I think it's important, you should, is they will add to your book reviews and on Amazon and Goodreads. All right. So this is all 8 components that come into play is what they do for you. So going back to Superfan is the secret sauce to your marketing efforts, to and they can soar your success ratio very quickly. And just I kind of think of them as just a team of ninjas that are out there to be there for you. So how powerful is it? Well, let's talk about these numbers on that. So, and I'm going to refer to my notes here because math is not my thing anymore. But that if you have a couple of thousand super fans and you produce just one year, that's 2,000 book sales. I'm just saying, all right? So if you sell it on Amazon, we'll use Amazon, which is going to be for most people the primary buyer, or certainly the backup if they go into bookstores initially. That the primary buyer, and let's say your book is under 20 bucks, that that can create a gross of around $13,000. If it was 2,000 times 20, let's say, um, uh, 40,000 net to you, net to you. If you're in a bookstore, and now this is where the royalty comes in, and you've got a bunch of chops is going on. So that roughly 17,000 would go back to the publisher of that 40,000. Just saying, that's the discounting, and of that, so of that amount, you get paid a royalty based on whatever your contract is. And it could be around 10%, so you might make $1,700. But if you sell them yourself, no, all bets are off. If you're selling them yourself directly at conferences, you're gonna get close to half of what your costs. You figure your costs, you take away all your costs, and you'll get anywhere from a half to 80% of your selling price, and you get paid. This is the cool stuff about conferences and about events you're at. You keep all the money. You keep all the money. And also, let me go back. I'm going to add a number 9 to super fans. That sometimes super fans, because I was a fan of someone, I just did an event on her behalf in my home, invited 20 of my friends in, and everyone bought a book. And she walked out with full price with all the money, paid for a book. So no one, she just had the cost of what it cost her to print the book and put it together. That's what her cost was. And so she came out, she did great. I mean, that's the kind of things that you want to start evolving to doing. How about you could do a contest or something and put it out to all your fans and just say, and you could restrict it to your area. So I revealed I lived in the Denver, Colorado area. I could put out a deal to anyone in the Metro Denver area, or we could call it the Front Range. That would expand it. I could go up, 100 miles from side to side state with different directions, that I would do a special event. Maybe I would actually bring a tea to all their friends. And I would supply all the goodies, the supplies, and me. And that, and we would, if they could buy my book, you could say, or they may say, wait a minute, no, 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 I'll take care of it. If you'll come to my club or my house or my book club, and they're often in book clubs, by the way, that, for the book club, we'll set up the date and you could say, all right, in fact, I think I'm going to do this. Win me for your book club. And you could even supply maybe up to 10 books or something at your cost that they would do that. That would make them be a hero to their club members. And you would grow your super fan list, all that. Because their super fans are going to want to know when are new books coming out, which would be cool. All right, so what you want to do is develop these babies. Now, if you're going to online sales and doing that, you'll make less because the books, if we're talking Amazon, let's just say Amazon. Amazon is a bookstore. It's just an online bookstore. Okay. It's the same kind of percentages that you're dealing with. Well, you make more if you're an independent self-publisher. You will make more than versus what comes through a traditional publisher on that. But you can find them, all right? You can grow them, you can get them. It can be very lucrative along the way. So how do we find these babies? And that's really, really, and understand, super fans, this is a huge number. Super fans are responsible for 50% of all print book buying. 50%. They're responsible for 60%. 60% of all ebook or Kindle buying in that area on that. And here's the fun thing. They devour books. They typically buy one book a week. So you're talking about 50 plus books a year. We'll give them a 2-week vacation. No, no, they'll buy more to go on vacation. So that's why they're scouting. You'll think super fans for mystery, super fans for children's books, super fans. And I have an adult friend who is in her early 70s who loves children's books. And she buys them and reads them, and she eventually spreads them out and gives them out. But she is a super fan to buy kiddo books, right? They will gobble up any book in a genre. So if they are a health nut, to say it, they'll buy anything in the health arena, nutrition arena, even cooking, how to cook healthily. Okay. If they're mystery, there's all kinds of mystery clubs out there for sure. But and just think, there's that they're genre specific. So they're number one, they supply by most books. They are mostly women. Over 60% are women who would be in this category, super fans. And are they retired? Nope. Over 55% work full time. They just love to read. They don't care if your book is published with a major publisher or they just found it. They just stumbled across it and they discovered you. They don't care. It's irrelevant. And their household income is, it runs between $50,000 and $75,000 a year. So that's where they are. So what your goal is, so if we had 2 million books sold, over 2 million books sold last year. And if 50%, let's say 50% of books are bought by super fans, that's 1 million of them. And of course, then we have to subdivide. But how can you get a conversion and bring that down to just even if, how can I develop 1,000 fans that just love everything I do? That when you think about if 2 million books were sold, over 2 million, close to 3, sold last year. Half of them are purchased by superfans. How can I get a little piece of that action? How can I do that? And that's where you have to do your work. So, where do they hang out? That's a good idea to figure out. So I would stop, I would start. Here's a few things. I would start and find out the genres, and I would look at on Amazon to identify the top genres out there that and what book clubs also and see what they are. And when you're studying these top lists on Amazon, that look at both paid and free, by the way, paid and free, because most authors will have their books sometime on the free side. They'll do it for a couple of days to try to generate some buzz and doing it. All right, so whoever these authors are, what are the keywords they're using? These top people, because they've got super fans, you just want to emulate them. That what phrases do they use in their communication? So that means you're going to look at their blogs, you're looking at their detail pages on their pages on Amazon, because again, you're looking at, do you have some of those keywords and phrases in your copy? If we're talking about same genres, by the way, here, right? It's always good to know what the popular or the trending hashtags are. And you can do a Google search, what trending hashtags for mystery books today, something like that. You always go over to Goodreads and check that one out too. Even though Amazon owns it, they don't seem to play well together and cross um, on any of that. But just find out what the groups are chatting about to see if you can get in there. Find and follow the online book community. I would start with onlinebookclub.org. See what's going on. So that's onlinebookclub.org. And then the Goodreads to find out what's going on in that arena. Now, here's where you could have some fun. You could put in uh, something like dearauthor.com, and follow that. Now, why would you do that? If you had a romance book, that's a site for you to know about. If mystery, there's a great website called Flashlight, mystery flashlight worthy.com that you can get into in that community and take advantage of that. One of the blogs I follow is Bill Gates' blog. He has a thing called Gates Notes, and he never dings a book. He reviews books, and he only does books he likes. So if he gets hold of a book he doesn't like, he is not going to talk about it. He won't tell people don't buy it. He only wants to talk about things that that hits with him. So this is you're looking for community. So I would be doing the Google search for and do the searching for what um communities, what book communities um cater to, you could use the word cater, or follow what your genre. This is where you're going to go. You've got to go be very specific here. It could be children's books, it could be mystery, it could be health related, it could be business, it could be careers, it could be academia, it could be something in the science area, it could be epic fantasy, it could be fantasy. There is, you know, um, romances, sissy, they call it. They're a combination of fantasy and romance that's pretty hot right now. There's a lot out there. So what clubs are there that you can reach out and start being well known for? And the other thing is, I would go to your bookstore and I would ask them about their own book clubs and do that. In fact, as I say that, I should do, I think I'm going to make a phone call to the bookstores that I routinely sign in and ask them about book clubs. I've got I've got multiple signings to support my new book this month, and this would be something that I should track down and see if I can get names to reach out to let them know about my book. I mean, because would you not love to be able to go in a bookstore, for example, one of the big ones, fantasy writers, couple of big ones would be Sarah Moss, Rebecca Yarros. They have full tables piled high with their books, and all the tchotchkes now that they're coming up with. Is there something that you could go on that? Now, how do you start in this Engage Up? I would also look over for go on meetup.com, check out communities for your genre to see if there's any there in your vicinity, because Meetup is, kind of a location where they're going to be. So whatever your state is, I'm in Colorado. And I run a couple of meetup groups for authors. And that what could you get into enjoying and enjoy and get on? But also you're there to network. And you have to do a step back. It's not always about pitching your book. This is where you could get into trouble. You want to share, offer advice if they have some kind of any forums going on. Be helpful on that. In fact, one of the things I'm involved in is the Authors Hall of Fame, and I founded that. Oh my gosh, 6 years ago, the Colorado Authors Hall of Fame, and one of the criteria for the inductees, is to ensure their legacies don't get lost, as they get lost. And that one of the qualifications for consideration is what kind of outreach does this author have? What have they done to maybe mentor, help, share, advise, be available to others in the authoring community, or if their book is about whatever the specific topic, a nonfiction book that's about a specific topic. What have they done in the outreach to help other people and really make a difference? That's one of the criteria we look at before we invite someone to be inducted into the hall. So what can you do? What can you do in that reach out and all of that? So, that light fell down. All right. So as you move along, you want to start the engagement process. So one of the things I go through, this is where you get into swag, that they that you give away. I never print less than 1,000 bookmarks at a time, never less. In fact, it might cost $20 more to get 2,000. So what you want to do is it's a key marketing tool. So is there a little for you nonfiction authors, is there something within your writing that you could create a little tool that you could give out to your to anyone you chat with at any event, anywhere? I have multiple books. I have multiple bookmarks, and I have at least 10 of them, 10 of each, in my carry, my satchel that I have with me, my purse, that I have with me at any time, because I never know who I'm going to run into, if they're going to be fiction oriented or nonfiction oriented. Um, I just never know that I could just say, this book might work for you. Or I can even write a note on it. I carry notes with me with sticky, I'm a big fan of sticky notes. Let's see if I can find it here. I've got something here that I have a couple of things on. You can remember, I'm just going to show you this real quick, but it has, this right up here. It has my name, Book Shepherd, and sticky note. So it's a 3x5, and I can take care of that very quickly and handle it, um, and give that to people. So, and I'm writing a note, but I carry those kind of things. I have a couple of different variables with me on that. So just so many different ways, or an idea on that. I have a little cookbook, and I always said, "Do you like to cook?" "Oh, I love to cook." "What do you do? What do you like?" It says, "Well, it's summertime, so I love salads." And I have a really fun recipe for a beet salad. And I'll ask them, do you like beet salads? And you know, and beets will say, oh no, beets are not my thing. But if it is, I said, can I show you a 5 ingredient beet salad that will be a winner anytime you serve it? And I just open the book to the page, and then I'll have my note or the bookmark, and I'll write on it and put page what it is in the book and give it to them. That's, you know, when they can carry something away from you, it makes the difference in what you're doing on that. So I also think that this might be a time that you might want to think about doing creating group. So LinkedIn has groups. If your book is career, business, anything like that oriented, LinkedIn is where you belong. Create your own group and also search in the groups. And how are you going to find those? Let me tell you, when you go on LinkedIn, they have like a matrix. I think it's like 9 dots up in one of the corners. You click on that and the groups will open up on that. But you can find them and reach out. And you just, you know, you can start sharing, hey, people, you know, folks, like for the foodie people, I could say I wanted to share you one of my favorite summer salad recipes. And I would actually write out the whole recipe and put it in there and share it with them. No strings attached. I'm just sharing with it. And I could put, you know, the sources from my cookbook, blah, blah, blah. But those are things that you're looking for in that. What you want to remember about superfans is they do want more. You know, so whatever you can put out. So I freely give out. I have created I give out chocolate. I like chocolate. A lot of readers love chocolate. And I have made little miniature chocolate books with each one of my covers. And I always have them on the table at any book event. And people love it when I give it to them when they buy a book. Now, what if they ask for it and they haven't bought a book? Do I give it to them? Yeah, I do. I do. Because then they're taking home my cover with me, and I would encourage them, you know, and some people when I meet them, you know, they'll tell me I only read ebooks, and I said that's great. All my books are in ebook format, and most of them are on audio. So that helps. So on your swag, on a bookmark, I'm going to tell you, I want you to make sure you put what format it's in, print, ebook, and audio if appropriate with that. So those are a few of the things that you want to do. Now, we take pictures of when someone buys our books, and we will say, can we take your picture and get your name, and we'll post it out on our social media and say where we met you. You know, are you game to do that kind of thing? Because I think that's always a lot of fun in the process to do a push out that way. So I would consider definitely doing that. So you don't want to lose these people, you know, where they are. And you're going to be searching for them, you know, be on the search. So I ask them to join my special list. They get a follow-up, you know, within a week that I really enjoyed meeting them. I'll let them know when I have, and for the fans, like for my business, I have a regular newsletter that goes out every week. But for my fans, I don't push out that much. You know, I'll let them. I give them news events. We're going to start showing them. We're starting to do the reveal of the cover of the new book, so we have something coming out and what's happening, and I'll do an update on here it is. Here are the bookstores I'm going to be at for in the Colorado area, signing on them on that. Now, once you start expanding, and let's say all of a sudden you've got a bunch of fans in Chicago, and you live in Iowa or Indiana. Well, Indiana is just a puddle hop from Chicago for many people in that area that you could do. I would be reaching out to bookstores there. Or if you have any super fans, you know, they may let you know about an event. And you could say, hey, I'm thinking about coming to Chicago, and would love to do an event for all the fans of blah, blah, blah. Right? I use blah, blah, blah a lot, but it's easy instead of going through a whole bunch of names or titles. But you're going to be very specific of that. And seeing if someone could become the hunter gatherer for you. Because, by the way, they're out there and they will do that for that. And there now, also in finding them, it's you'll find that their followers or blogs. It used to be in the old days in social media. If you followed something, if you followed someone, you could follow their followers. Twitter used to have that before. I don't know if it still has it. Elon Musk came along, but that was a way to open up, when a very certain thing. Now, if you're a fan of horror, of course, you've got some big names in horror that pop up. Stephen King would be one of them. He's always got a new book coming out every year on that. He's very prolific on social media on that. You think about doing a tag of him, and that would develop it because wouldn't you like to have some super fans of well-known authors all of a sudden following you and discovering you? I've had that happen to a couple of my clients that all of a sudden they see what's going on. They like visually maybe what you're putting out, all that, and all of a sudden they they become a follower of yours and they may even make comments, which is very cool on that. Now that opens up another window for you because now you can make a comparable poster of some sort with like genres. If you're a fan of this, as I am, okay, I'm a fan. You might want to discover my latest book in in the fantasy area or whatever your area is. So that's one of those things that you can do. So kind of doing as we close up this session, I want to do a fast recap of who these people are, why you should care about them, where are you going to find them. Grab some of my notes because I had a lot of this written down, and encourage you to remember to go in and your search engines are going to be very helpful to you. Bookstores can be very helpful for you. Bookstores actually have book club sections. I know there's a small independent bookstore in a city right next door to where I live, and they have almost every day a certain book club in their store, and they come to the store. So they're supporting that way. That's kind of cool. And you become part of that, part of the stream that they offer, and join in. Think about where I live. Our neighborhood has its own book club, believe it or not, and 12 of us get together, and we decide collectively what books we'll do. We identify 3 books to be over the next 3 months, in what order, and we collectively do them and gather. Now, book clubs can be incredibly social. They meet at all times of the day. There's morning book clubs, there's midday book clubs, there's evening book clubs. Mine's an evening book club, so there's really no real food, maybe a dessert tidbit, but there's really no prep. People need to have a set, they need to have maybe a beverage, and they just want to talk books and catch up. They're very social entities. So that would be something that I would definitely play around a little bit with. Now, I just remember who these people are. They're mostly women, although I'm seeing couples book clubs, a lot of couples book clubs, and they collectively go through. They work, most of them work. They have incomes that range from 50 to $75,000 a year. But the really great news is they read a lot of books, like one a week. So when they ask you, when is your next book coming out? Because I get it Oh, this is a series. I love a series. Now, if you have a series, by the way, they always want to start with book one. They're going to do the test one. And traditionally, what I found that people get better as each series in their writing. So that's why you want to stay in contact. And this is what's going on, or share new discoveries, or what's going on with it. I had one person who was one of our and I write historical for fiction, historical fiction, and it's the 11th century, at least very strong female protagonist. And that I got a call just out of the blue from saying, I love the way you're developing. She read book she was our one of our beta readers for book three. And she's, I love the way you're developing the kids and what they're doing. And I said, I actually, in this section, I actually cried. And I said, you did on that. And I wanted to say, wait till you get to the end of what we do at the end of this book. But they will talk to you, and I want you to talk back to them. I think that's what I'm trying to stress is you've got to create a vehicle that they can communicate and they can hear who you are and what you're saying about their area. So mostly women, mostly working. They buy a lot of books, and they're often genre specific on what they are looking for. And it's so, if someone says, "Oh, I only read romance," you know what? They're not my potential super fan because I don't write romance. I don't know how to write romance. So, what do you know how to write? And that's what you want to start communicating with people is what do you like to read? And your buzz is whatever the genre is that you're doing, that's what you're waiting to listen for. And doing that so then you can continue the communication. And one way to continue it is you might let them know about other books that you are aware of in that genre. It may not be your genre, but you're helping them out as a reader. Have you discovered this? I'm seeing a lot of this happening with the streaming services on TV where people will just say, so what are you watching now? What are you binging on? What are you doing on that in the series, whether it's Prime or it's Netflix or, Hulu or Paramount or fill in the blank. Where are you in that process? So that's what you want to do. You want to move it around, see what you can do as you pull it in that together. So that's what makes it very fun as you do this. So super fans are your secret sauce. And few authors talk about superfans. Few authors talk about finding superfans. Few authors talk about catering to them because you don't need many. You don't need many if they're buying your books and building. So you don't need an email list of 50,000 people to sell a lot of books. You don't. But if they are exclusively if they like what you do, they like your verbiage you use, they like the way you put your words together, they like the way you tell your stories, or they just like, action, if they're a suspense, if they're an action thriller. And it's fun to see the development happen as it goes along. So I am all for that in going out. So I would go start, get on your computer, go and Meetup and find out if there's any clubs of your genre out there that you can reach out to. And most clubs plan ahead of time, by the way. It's not, okay, next month, what should we read? No, they're going to plan several months ahead. And some plan for the whole year out at once. When do they do that? Maybe you should be in a club to see how they interact and how they go. I would create on your website that a book club media kit is a good idea that you can put together. And in that media kit, You can make suggestions, but you ought to create book club discussions, questions that they can have, because I know that when we're doing a book that I'm not familiar with the author, I will go online and do a Google search for discussion questions for, book club discussion questions for the title of the book. And you will be amazed at what comes up because they're out there on there. And then also if there's an author that you like, or that you have a group of you who have considered, because you would like to be in some of these groups, that you would go to their website, and usually if they have a speaking tab or a media tab or a book tab, preferably they have all three of those, that they will have discussion questions that you can get in and download. Now, why do you care? Because you're going to mimic them. You're going to start putting it together. So you start having your own set that is specific to yours. And that will make all the difference, truly all the difference in how as your professionalism really as an author, how you reach out, what people think, and it just helps them. And people print them out. You know, we are fans of this one book that I was in. People brought papers and papers about the author and some of the things that they did, and they shared them with everyone. So super fans are the hot sauce, and that's where you're going to move forward so you can build your author success. It ties in with your marketing, that you have. Remember, it's going to be primary women who are going to be running the show here, who will become your fan and get behind you. And you do want to create little goodies for them, little gifts to go out. You do want to make announcements out, emails. This is why you have to get the email list, and building, and you just communicate directly. And this is where I'm going to be. Come see me. Come see my new book and come get, chocolate. I will tell people, come get this on that. And your super fans is like having your own personal fan club. And that's what I really love, that they're going to support you. And here's something you might say to your fans, that you could create a little contest. Those of you, you're writing. You could have for the fiction authors, how about saying that, you're going to do a special and you're going to include 5 of your fans' names, or the name they choose to go by, in your next book on that. And you will create a contest and going in, and put it out. And you can just do it directly by email, and just tell them to put it out, or just say that if they're all super fans by default in your email list, I would make an announcement that you're going to be doing that, and you're going to have a random drawing, and you're going to do these 5 things for a fan. You could even, in your own location, if you've got them going, you know, what about hosting a lunch for them? What about, meeting them for a coffee, doing a coffee hour with them, and have them just come in, and you can just sit down and talk, and it gives you a chance to tell them what you're working on, what your ideas at. Let me tell you, they'll have ideas for you on that. They'll resonate with certain characters you have. If this is nonfiction, the same thing holds with it. That you may be on the prowl, or looking for stories, or you're looking for situations or incidences that you can cite and recommend and acknowledge, and by the way, you acknowledge those kind of people on your acknowledgement, your gratitude page. All right, so that's a wrap, for this, but I hope you understand how important superfans are. You want to find them, you want to nurture them, you want to feed them with some kind of a goodie, and let them know what's going on in your world. All right, we'll see you next week. on the next edition of the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. I'm Judith. Have a great week.